You can start, sir.
Okay. Good morning. Namaskaram, everyone. Oh, वागर्थाविव सम्पृक्तौ वागर्थप्रतिपत्तये जगतः पितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ जगतः पितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ वन्दे शम्पतिं सुरगुरुं वन्दे जगत्कारणम् वन्दे पन्नगभूषणं मृगधरम् वन्दे पशूनां पतिम् वन्दे सूर्यशशाङ्कवह्निनयनम् वन्दे मुकुन्दप्रियम् वन्दे भक्तजनाश्रयं च वन्दे शिवं शङ्करम् वन्दे शिवं शङ्करम् श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः. A warm welcome to everyone to today's session of Sivanandalahari, Shiva Tatvanusandhanam. In the last session, we very briefly went through the Tattva, the Shiva Tattva, and we also spent some time talking about the need for works like Sivanandalahari. What happens when we listen, when we think about the stotras, the devotional compositions that have been written, and the margas, the bhakti marga, right? So we spent time talking about it, and then we started with the very first shloka of Shankaracharya in Sivanandalahari, the invocation song in which he offers his respects to the divine couple Shiva Parvati. The Ardhanarishwara Swarupa is what he starts off with. So today we are going to move to the second shloka. Typically, when a composition is written, especially a devotional composition such as these Shivanandalahari, Lahari, and all of that, the author, sometimes there is a set pattern, there is a set process in which they go through the composition. They start off with an invocation to their Ishtadaiva, or whether it is to Ganesha as an invocation, or to certain Ishtadaivas of theirs, or the main, whoever they want to base the whole kriti on, right? So it all starts off with that. And then sometimes the author may write about what is the purpose of this work. So, in the second shloka, Shankaracharya really talks about that aspect. What is Shivanandalahari? Why Shivanandalahari? Like as I said, Lahari is waves. So there's a very beautiful metaphor that Shankaracharya comes up with in this second shloka. We will look at that now. We'll begin our session with the second shloka. Galanti Shambho Tvacharita Saritah Kilbisharjo Dalanti Dhikulya Saranishu Patanti Vijayatam Dishanti Samsara Brahmana Paritapopashamanam Vasanti Maccheto Hridabhuvi Shivanandalahari Vasanti Maccheto Hridabhuvi Shivanandalahari. We will see what the whole purport of this shloka is, and then we will go into each and every word. So in this, Shankaracharya says, Shambho, O Shambho, Shankarotiti, Shambhu. He gives, he bestows happiness to this world. He gives happiness to the world. Vijayatam, glory to that current of divine bliss, Shivananda Lahari. What sort of a Lahari is this? How is this originating? It is brimming from a river of your holy stories, and it flows into the lake of my mind. How does it flow? It flows to the lake of my mind through the canals of the intellect. And while it is flowing like that, it is doing many things. What is it doing? It is subduing the dust of sins, and it is cooling the heat that is born of this human birth death cycle, this samsara. It's paritapa. Samsara paritapa. That is what is kind of getting subdued. It is getting cooled off by this flow of the Tvacharita Saritaha, the stories, like a waterfall. It is like, flowing through. So we'll now take this picture, keep this picture in mind, and then we will look at the force behind every single word. Basically, it goes like this: Hey Shambho, Tvat Charita Saritaha, Tvat, your Charitaha. This is not just Charita, Charita Sarita. Sarati, it's like it flows, something that flows. Your glories, your stories, the magnificence of what Shiva is not stagnant. There is like last time also, as I said, every word is deep. It is deeply filled with a lot of meaning. He is talking about Saritaha. That means it is dynamic. It is ever flowing. What becomes stagnant? Something that gets locked, landlocked, becomes stagnant. That means, one, that water has stopped to kind of like, overflow. That means it is done. It is finished. There is no, as long as there is water flowing in, the level will rise, it will continue to flow. When it stops, what happens? Everything starts seeping down, and eventually everything starts like, it starts rotting, it starts drying, it accumulates all kind of dirt, dust, everything, right? You see a puddle of water that is stagnant, what happens to it? And eventually it all vanishes. But Shiva's glory is not stagnant. It keeps flowing. Saritaha. Because it is not bound by time and space. The glories of Shiva were not constrained to pre-Vedic or Vedic or 12th century only, 6th century only, 10th century with Kashmir Shaivism. No. Shiva's Charita Saritaha has been flowing on and on and on, and there is no end to it. Tvat Charita Saritaha Galanti. It is flowing. And it is like, imagine a waterfall, right? Like from a perennial stream that can never ever dry. That water, it is like flowing. Galanti. Tvat Charita Saritaha Galanti. Kilbisha Rajo Dalanti. Right? It washes off, it demolishes it completely. When you see the force of a water, it it takes everything in its way and it carries it off, washes away completely. Talanti, what does it talanti? Kilbisharajaha, all the evils, all the pain. Human mind is so preoccupied with all thoughts that are centered around our senses. What is going to give me pleasure? Always running behind pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. And the more we run after pleasure, we start accumulating kilbishaha. All the evil, all the bad things, dirt, dust, everything starts getting accumulated. Because in Bhagavad Gita itself, Paramatma says, Sangat sanjayate kamo kamat krodho bijayate krodhat bhavati sammohaha sammohat smriti vibhramaha smriti bhramshat buddhinasho buddhinashat pranashyati. Right? The more we start getting attached to every aspect, material aspect, transient aspects, temporary aspects, one of the way in which Maya dilutes us is it makes us think that something that is impermanent is permanent. Something that is not my true essence is my true essence. This body is not my true essence, but we start identifying with it. All the fame, glory, these material aspects that we accumulate, it is not permanent. We don't take anything with us when we go, but yet we get so attached to it. We become stagnant. And we start accumulating all of this. But when this water of that Shiva story flows through, it washes away all of these things. Kilbisharajaha dalanti. And while doing that, what else does it do? Dhi kulya saranishu patanti. Now he creates the imagery of a waterfall. But that waterfall is happening from where? Dhi kulya saranishu. It is a valley, right? So if you can imagine, if you have been to the Grand Canyon and all, you see these beautiful, huge, tremendous valleys, and there is a waterfall, a river stream that is kind of flowing through it, right? He says, our dhi, our intellect is like that. Why is he saying like this? Why does he say dhi kulya saranishu? It has to flow through the canals. Kulya is kaluve. It is canal. These canals have been made by our dhi, intellect. What does that mean? When the water flows in, it has to have a certain direction, right? So when you want to irrigate and all, you set up canals which will take the water through all the fields and everything so that everything gets watered. Our dhi has to do that work. Our intellect has to do that work. What do we mean by that? When we listen to anything, whether it is Puranas, whether you read an epic, whether you read any work for that matter, it doesn't matter only religious work. It can be applied for any aspect that you want to read, whether it is professional, whether it is technical, whether it is spiritual. Unless we are thinking and introspecting about what we are reading, it is just going to become accumulation of information. It is not knowledge. We might read a pamphlet that is lying on the floor somewhere. You might very casually, lazily browse through a book, mindlessly. Mindlessly, we do a lot of things. But the Kulya Saranishu, when all of these aspects have to come through, it has to be mindful. With intent, we have to listen to these things. With intent, we have to try to introspect. That is why it is called Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. 3 aspects, right? We need to, whatever is being read, think about it. What is the author trying to tell here? And then try to practice it. Try to figure out what the application of all of this is. So whether we are listening to a story, whether we are listening to some discourse somewhere, or even just reading something, unless we do this process, it is not going to become meaningful. Eventually, at the end of the day, it is going to fade away. If not today, in the next 72 hours or 48 hours, sometime, even a week later, if you are going to go back and ask, what did I read that day? There was some author, some name, some concept. It was just talking about a bunch of things. That is not the way Shankaracharya says Shiva's glory, that divine bliss. It has to flow through, not like that. Dhi kulya saranishu, through the canals of my intellect. Dishanti samsara brahmana paritapopashamanam. And while it is flowing like this, it is washing away all the dirt, the sins, and everything that has been accumulated. And it is also, just as the stream flows, that Bhorgareta, that the power of that waterfall, it has come, it has washed away so many things. It is now cool, it is calm, it is flowing so seamlessly, so beautifully, it is flowing through. Such water it is very refreshing. To experience that, you just need to go to a flowing stream. In that flowing stream, you will see in the banks of that flowing stream, there is life. You find greenery, right? When there is this flow of tremendous waterfall, you won't find a lot of greenery, life that can be sustained in such environments. But when it tempers down and it becomes like a smooth flowing river, in that river bank, there is a whole different life that originates. And just going to that river bank, you feel so refreshed, right? There is a cool breeze that flows through. That is the picture, that is the imagery Shankaracharya is building over here. Who needs to go there? All of us. Why? Because we are baked. We are totally cooked in the samsara brahmana paritapa. Paritapa. Tapa is tapana. You are being literally cooked in the heat. You are being baked. Very nicely you are getting baked. Paritapa. Very nicely you are getting baked. Of what? This samsara. Samsara brahmana. Again and again and again we keep going through the cycles of this samsara. What is this cycle? From a karma perspective, we talk about sanchita, agami, prarabdha, right? Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam. In Moha Mudgara, Shankaracharya itself says, Iha sansare bahudustare kripaya pare pahi murare. Right? Again and again, we die, we again take birth. Why? All the sanchita. We have accumulated so much. Sanchita karma is your total accumulation. Agami is like everything that I'm doing right now is also getting deposited in my bank. Right? So if you imagine your bank deposit, you're continuously putting money into that. Whatever funds that we are trying to build and develop, we are continuously depositing money into that. There is going to be interest that is going to get generated. We withdraw money, prarabdha. It has already started to give fruit. Prarabdha is the set of karmas that have started to give the fruit. In order to enjoy or suffer through that, we take birth. So in this birth, that's why we say, what prarabdha? Because I'm already born with, with that interest that has been accumulated, I want to enjoy it. So based on that, you take birth, however it is that it is going to be, whether in a rich family, poor family, good birth, bad birth, who knows what yoni, what janma. Prarabdha has started bearing fruit. Agami is now getting deposited, and very soon that will also mature and it will start paying its dues to you. Sanchita is a total accumulation. So within the samsara, we are always going to be in the cycle of sanchita, agami, prarabdha. Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, Adhyatmika, the three tapas, tapana, again, tapatraya. Three types of karma, three types of tapas, Adhyatmika, Adi Bhautika, and Adi Daivika tapas. That's it. We lead our life so mindlessly, just going through the same cycles over and over and over again, never pausing to figure out, how can I come out of this? To such people, going near that calm flowing waters of Shiva's glory will give relief. Because who is Shiva? Shiva, Shankara, Shamkaroti iti Shankaraha. Shiva itself is Mangala, auspicious. When you go to anything that is auspicious, someone who himself is Mangala, he himself is auspicious. How will we not get relief when we go there? When we listen, because there is hope. That is what all of this at the end of the day, it tells there, don't worry. Even if nobody cares for you, Shiva is going to be there. Look at him, right? You go to a graveyard where everybody will leave you at the end. Nobody is coming with you. Even your kalevara, they take the kalevara, either it is buried or it is burnt, done. Job done, everyone goes back. Even there, Shiva is waiting. He has made the smashana itself as his residence. You are going to get reduced to ash. Don't worry, I'll smear you all over my body. Who is saying this? Shiva is saying this. Even if nobody in the world is going to care for you, isn't that enough to give a bit of hope? To say that even if nobody in the world cares, for such people, there is one person who is saying, don't worry, I'm there for you. The very thought that something is there for me is so comforting. That is the force of what Dishanti it gives. Dadati. Dishanti it gives. Samsara Brahmana Paritapopashamanam. Vasanti Macheto Hrudabhuvi. Having done all of this, that water is come into this place, Macheto Hrudabhuvi, into my heart. Everything that comes through our intellect, ultimately, it has to become internalized with us. It has to become one with us. We do a lot of these intellectual things. We are extremely good. Excellent vocabulary, great diction. We can talk about everything day in and day out. At the end of the day, what has it made us as individuals? Are we more kind? Are we more loving? Are we more accepting of others? We are so eager to put down others. The moment we see something wrong in someone else, we want to point it out and put them down and say that, look, he is like that, he's like this, she is like this, she is like that. Because it boosts our ego so much. What if Shiva starts doing that? Is there anything that is hidden from him? He knows all the schemings. He knows all the inner thoughts that go in our mind. What we think, what we present, he knows everything. Nothing is hidden from him. And yet he is so accepting of all the foibles of humanity and still says, don't worry, I'm there. Through that intellect, if we can grasp this, but if it cannot get embedded in our Cheto Hruda Bhuvi, in the space of our heart, if it does not get embedded strongly, deeply, nothing is of use. It has to transform. At the end of the day, it has to transform. And when it transforms like that, when it becomes embedded and stalled completely, deeply rooted in our heart, what it gives rise is Sivanandalahari. That supreme bliss, most auspicious bliss, Sivanandalahari. Yes, Veerji, namaskara.
Namaskar, Praveen. Thank you for doing this. I had a small question on the last line
Yes,
because I read it at other places, and the word there is not Hrida I mean, at least what I read.
right,
It's
right.
Hrada. That's what I learned. Hrada, not Hrida. So
Is
if
it?
you think about it, yeah, I mean, at least the versions that I have read,
Sure, sure.
Hrada is, if you go to Rudram, right? Hradaya yacha niveshpya chanta.
Ha, ha,
It
ha.
will come,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Hrada is when, I don't know what is the word in Kannada, but in Telugu, Hradamu means when the waterfall happens under the, it's called Madugu in Telugu.
All right.
When the
Yes.
water falls down,
Yeah.
it forms a small lake kind of a thing under where the water falls and stays stable for some time and then it moves over, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That Madugu is called Hrada in Sanskritam.
I
So
see.
instead of Hrudabhuvi, I read it as Hradabhuvi. So Vasanti Macheto Hradabhuvi Shivanandalahari.
I see.
And not just that, this entire shloka, right?
Yes.
Um, Shankaracharya, when he was writing Shivanandalahari, he was sitting in Srisailam.
That's true. Yeah, I was going to come to that. Yes. In the end, he refers to Sri Shailam, Mallikarjuna. Yes, yes, that's true. He was
So
in
he,
Sri Shaila.
in this, when he started Shivanandalahari, it seems he was sitting in a place where the waterfall was there, and it is there. It is called Paladara and Panchadara. So
I see.
there are two waterfalls that are right next to each other. They're
Uh-huh.
called Paladara and Panchadara. So he was actually visualizing the waterfall,
Right.
and he was seeing that waterfall on one hand, and he was also visualizing Shivananda Lahari flowing as that stream, and he
Correct.
was describing both of them in one shloka. Is what I read.
Nice. Yeah, that's true. That could be. I think that makes sense because we will see a lot of these Shleshalankaras steeped in throughout this work. Even when he refers to Channamallikarjuna, Sri Shaila Channamallikarjuna, we find multiple ways in which it is also talking about the flower, the Mallika flower, the creeper, and it is also talking about Shiva and Parvati. So there are like ways in which he brings both of those dimensions into it. So I think, yeah, that could very well be quite true, quite true.
Sorry for the interruption. Please go
Oh,
ahead.
no, absolutely no. That was really nice. Thank you. Please, I would definitely love that sort of an interaction and an engagement. Because yes, so there are, yeah, Hradabhuvi makes sense. Hradabhuvi makes sense. I think there are both versions that I have read. More I have found is like the Hradabhuvi in all the ones that I'm using is one that was written by Tirumalacharya, has written a bhashya for this. It's very beautiful. And the other one is Ramakrishna Ashrama also has come out with this. So I'm using those references throughout this work. Yes, I think there was another hand, someone else. Okay, I assume no other questions.
Yeah, probably a mistake. You can continue, please.
Okay, yeah, sure. Great. So yes, Hrada Bhuvi, Shivananda Lahari. Okay. So now we can we'll move from here to the next shloka. The next shloka, he offers his respects to Shiva. He started off with the Mangala, where he is invoking both Shiva Shakti. Now he talks about the Shivananda Lahari, where we get the purport of everything that, like, happens, what's going to come forth, right? What is the Shivananda Lahari? That picture has been uh, built in our mind. And now he very beautifully talks about who is this work meant for, or sorry, who is the epicenter of this work, rather. Who is he addressing throughout? For whom, for which daiva of his he is, like, writing this whole thing, and that is Shiva. What sort of Shiva? Who is this Shiva? Look at the beautiful, again, picturization here. त्रयीवेद्यं हृद्यं त्रिपुरहरमाद्यं त्रिनयनं जटाभारोदारं चलदुरगहारं मृगधर महादेवं देवं मयि सदय भावं पशुपतिं चिदालम्बं साम्बं शिवमतिविडम्बं हृदि भजे चिदालम्बं साम्बं शिवम् अतिविडम्बं हृदि भजे. So in this shloka, he says, in my heart, I sing the glories of that beautiful Shiva. He is known through the Vedas. He is someone who has destroyed 3 cities, Tripura Hara. He has 3 eyes, Trinayana. He is the 3-eyed one, Trinetra. He is the one who is the beginning. At the root origin, he is the one. He is beginning. And he has such a majestic matted hair. Jatabharodaram. Chaladuragaharam. What is adorning him as his ornaments? It is Uragaharaha. Chaladuragaharaha. The snake that crawls. That is his adornment. That is his ornaments. He is wearing a garland of those serpents. What else does he have? He has a deer, Mrigadhara. He's holding a deer in his hand. Mahadeva. He's the greatest, the great Lord. Mai Sadaya Bhavam. He's someone who is looking at me with mercy. He's the Lord of all beings. He is the support of what is pure consciousness. And he is with Amba, always associated with Parvati, Jagannatha, the mother of this whole universe. And that Shiva, Ati Vidambam, he's so peculiar, almost comical to the point. Vidambana. Right? Almost. It'd be like, what mystery is this? Like, how do we, like, bring together these dichotomies that is manifested in Shiva? Ati Vidambam. Right? He even pokes fun, calling him, like, your what Vidamba form is this? We look at each of these words. Aham, I, aham, trayi vedyam, hridyam, tripuraharam, adyam, trinayanam, jatabharodaram, chaladuragaharam, mrigadharam, mahadevam, devam, mai sadaya bhavam, pashupatim, chidalambam, sambam, shivamati vidambam, hridi bhaje. That's the outline of how, like, if you remove the poetic side of it and just read it like a prose, that is how it reads. But even while you're reading it, you can see the rhythm, right? Trayi vedyam, hridyam, tripuraharam, adyam. So you can see that prasa coming again and again and again. Last time we had spoken about Shikharini Chandas. What is the lakshana of Shikharini Chandas and everything? You can see that. The rhythm, the rhyme, in each of these. Oh, every word, right? Now, if we get into the meaning, Trayi Vedyam. Trayi, three. Vedyam. Vedya is someone who can be realized by the three. What three are they referring to? The three Vedas. But then a question comes like, hold on. How is it three Vedas, not four? Because we read about four Vedas. Now there are, like, we talk about Panchama Veda also, and there are so many contenders for Panchama Veda. So what is this? Why is it Trayi Vedyam? There are different perspectives to this. If you look at the time when from the pre-Vedic to Vedic, the genesis, the whole way how it developed. Originally, there were three Vedas. The Atharva Veda was added later on as one perspective. Another perspective which actually makes more sense is the Lakshana of these Vedas. Trayi Veda, primarily, we always refer to Rik, Yajus, and Sama. Atharvana Veda, it is attributed to Atharvana Maharshi, Atharvana Rishi, and so there is Atharvana Veda, much later development. But usually when we say Trayi, we are referring to the three aspects of prose, poetry, and music. So Rig Veda is very poetic in nature. There is a prose, there is a metric meter to everything. That's where you will see Gayatri, Anushtup, Trishtup, right? All of these different meters in which Rik emerges. Rik. Yajus is more of prose. There are detailed, like, descriptions and everything. It reads like a prose. You will find definitely there are going to be meters that emerges, like, Krishna Yajurveda, we find Rudra and everything. So there is definitely that aspect also, not denying it. But primarily there is that prose flow to Yajurveda. Sama is where there is music, there is musical notations, there is a musical way. How does the rendition happen? If this has to be sung, and that is why in Samaveda you will find pretty nearly all the mantras and everything that exists in Rik exists in Sama also. But only thing is that it is sung. So these three forms primarily that existed, that is what is also being referred. What does that mean? In all of these ways, he is Shabdartha Rupa. Shiva Parvati is Shabda Swarupa Nada Brahma. Every way in which you deal with Shabda, whether it is poetry, whether it is prose, whether it is through music, every way nada is interacted with, sound is interacted with, words are interacted with, all of that is permeated, all of that is encompassed with Shiva. All Shabda is going to lead you to Shiva. Every mantra is going to lead you to Shiva. Every Gana, every Swara is imbued, is permeated, is completely encompassed with Shiva. All of that is going to ultimately take you to Shiva. Trayivedyam. Hridyam, so beautiful. Anyone, if you contemplate on that form, it fills your heart. It is impossible to not get mesmerized with that entity that is Shiva, with that tattva that is Shiva. You can put him in any form that you want. You can see him as Sundareshwara. You can see him as Kala Bhairava. You can see him as Bhairava. Any way that you want to see, he is going to fill you. He's going to fill your heart if you are able to grasp the essence behind that form. Hridyam. Tripura Haram. There are again so many versions of narratives to the Tripura, but what a glory it is. What a beautiful, majestic narrative, and especially in Mahabharata, in Karna Parva, where Karna is going into the battlefield, his Sarathi Shalya then tells him the story of Tripura Hara Shiva, or the Tripurasura Samhara. Beautiful, outstanding narrative. We'll talk about the Purana and then we will come to the metaphysical aspect of the Tripurasura Samhara, as everyone here might already be very well familiar with it. But so briefly, I'll just cover the Puranic aspect of it. Taraka, would have been born, and he would have had a boon that only the son of Shiva, because at that time the Dakshayani would have already immolated herself. She would have cast away her body, and Shiva would have withdrawn from everything, and he would have gone into penance. And we spoke about this also in the last session when we were looking at the invocation song, right? So Tarakasura is like, nobody can now, bring Shiva back into his form as a householder, right? He's withdrawn from this world. He's not going to again engage in it, get married and all of that. So he gets a boon that only Shiva's son should be able to kill me. Anyways, Dakshayani is reborn as Parvati, all of that happens. This Tarakasura would have had 3 sons. It is Taraksha, Kamalaksha and Vidyunmali. After Tarakasura is killed, the 3 brothers, they take upon the task of avenging or continuing the clan of all the Danavas, Daityas, Asuras and everything, all the Asuras. So what they do is they do a huge penance again on Brahma, and they seek a boon. And this is a very interesting boon. They say, we need, through Maya, we want 3 Nagaras, Tripuras, that are going to be constructed. And as long as we are inside these Puras, as long as we are inside this, no one should be able to destroy us, no one should be able to kill us. Well, I mean, then there should be a way to destroy all of these too, then, in that case. So they say, okay, if there is that constraint, then the 3 Puras, they are always going to be rotating. They are always going to be revolving. Okay, they are always going to be revolving. There has to be only once in several Sahasra Yugas, once that all of these 3 will line up. Only for a split moment. Like, when you, just that one split moment, as though you're like just batting your eyelid, just one split moment, they will all line up. When they are in perfect line, synchronization, neatly aligned with one another, at that time, if anyone can shoot an arrow and it should pierce all the 3 at that moment, when there is that perfect alignment in a straight line, if it pierces, then the 3 Puras can get destroyed, and therefore we will also get destroyed. Give me a boon like this. Brahma says, Tathastu. 3 Puras get built by Maya. One is of gold, other one is of silver, and then there is one of iron. Swarna, Rajata, and Loha. Vidyunmali gets iron, Kamalaksha gets silver, and Taraksha gets the gold Pura. And obviously, now the power gets into their head. They start tormenting everyone that is pious, everyone who is good. Indiscriminately, they start torturing everyone. Srishti starts kind of going bonkers, and trahi, everyone runs. Who can actually do it? Pinakadhara, the very first, foremost hunter in Rudra. You have this picture of Shiva who is having this dhanus and his repertoire of arrows that he can so majestically shoot. They all run to Shiva and they say, if there is anyone who can do it, it's only you. Please, please, please save us. But the destruction of these Puras, so majestic, should also be equated with a glorified warrior, someone like Shiva. If Shiva has to enter into the battlefield, it cannot come just randomly, no. There has to be someone who is going to bear Shiva. That warrior needs his own glorified entry. And for that, a beautiful stage is set. He starts dancing on the Tara Mandala, putting all the grahas and everything in alignment, because that Muhurta has to come. That divine dancer, he starts dancing and aligning, everything starts coming together to see. Srishti itself comes together to see what Shiva is going to now do. And to bear that form, Bhumi itself becomes the Ratha. Surya and Chandra, they become the wheels. All the Vedas, they become horses. And who is driving that horse? Brahma itself, Chaturmukha Brahma itself becomes the charioteer for a warrior like Shiva. The Meru Parvata becomes Pinaka, the bow. And Vishnu comes to serve as the arrow. He says, you shoot me. You shall wield the arrow that is going to be Hari. And on such a majestic chariot, Shiva enters the battlefield. Just when all the Puras are coming together, he fires the shot, and at exact that moment, like remember, it is just a momentary point when all of them line up, and in no time it is again going to get disaligned, gone, right? You have to again wait for the next cycle. No, once it is shot, it's gone. It's like all the three Puras in one neat sweep, it's all wiped out, destroyed. Mahabharata, there's a beautiful, beautiful description of this. You should definitely read that whenever you get a chance. This is the Tripurasura Samhara. In Puranas, like I keep saying, there is a beautiful narrative that they weave to convey something that is supremely metaphysical. What is the metaphysics behind all of this? What is the higher narrative behind all of this? That higher narrative has to do with us. We have three shariras. We have Sthula, Sukshma, and Karana Sharira. This birth, if I have this form, it is because of these three coming together. The Sthula Sharira, that is formed of, like, the five primordial elements, right? The Panchabhutas. The Panchabhutas contribute to this external form that I have. But then there is also a Sukshma Sharira, something that is not as evident, not something that is not as open as this form that I have. It is a little bit more abstract than what you're seeing, what is manifested like this. And that involves our Jnanendriyas, Karmendriyas, Manasu, Buddhi. The Manaha, mind, and Buddhi. These constitute our Sukshma Sharira. And then even more subtle than that is the Karana Sharira, where we have our Ahankara and Chitta. When I say Ahankara, I'm not talking about Ahankara from the perspective of where we use in our day-to-day life, like, oh, he has a lot of Ahankara, he has too much of Jambha or ego. That is not what is referred to as Ahankara. It has come into normal parlance. That is how it is referred to as. But the Ahankara it talks about is this sense of identity. We have a very deep sense of identity that this is who I am. And that is where we shroud ourselves with all of these aspects that, this body, I am this body. I am what I think. I am what I do. Right? Rene Descartes, what did he say? I think, therefore I am. Right? But Indian philosophy goes beyond that. It says, no, that is very superficial. I think, therefore I am. Rene Descartes, you are very superficial. That is Maya. What you are thinking, like, these thoughts, these information that I have accumulated, everything that I do, everything that is representative of everything that I do, all of this defines me, right? So that subtle identity that we have, that is what is being referred to as Ahankara. Then there is Chitta, even more subtle. Those three Puras, if we have to really transcend all of these things and get to the point of where I realize what my true form is, then I have to transcend all of these three. Shiva, when he burned down the three Puras, that Bhasma, they say, is what he smeared all over his body. So if we have to really understand what our true essence is, what is my true form, We might read n number of times that, Tat Sat, Tattvamasi, Tattvamasi, Tattvamasi. But unless we come to experience it, it just remains words. So how do we experience that? We have to transcend. We have to first of all transcend this sthula sharira, this iron. This is iron. Because the first thing to rust, easy to rust, always exposed to the elements, it will collapse. Iron. This body is the first thing. There is jara marana. We grow old, we die, it can be hurt, right? Easy to damage, vulnerable. And we associate any time something happens, we're like, oh my God, I'm getting old, I'm starting to see gray hairs. And it again and again bothers this identity, like, this picture that I want to have about myself as an eternal youth. And then if let's say we transcended this, okay, I don't care about my looks, I don't care about this body, all big words, we can say all of that, okay, fine. Okay, you transcended that. The silver pura is all of your jnanendriyas, karmendriyas, and manassu and buddhi. There it goes, and there we start dwelling into, oh, my thought, this is what I think, this is what is right. How I interpret everything around me, that is what is right. Because this thought, I came up with this idea. I was the one who came up with this. I was the one who did this. My name. This is my property. I'm going to get copyrights on all of these things. Right? We go into that. Then the chitta and ahankara is even more subtle. That is extremely hard. Now itself you can start understanding how hard it becomes when someone else claims that whatever I would have done, if someone else claims that I did it, it hurts us so much. We get so annoyed. We get so angry. Intellectual property right, someone took over. It was mine. Can we say no? Because I'm not this mind, I'm not this buddhi, nishchayatmika buddhi, something that is very determined, that is buddhi. Samshayatmika manaha. Manassu is like very chanchala, right? The thoughts that keep coming and going, that's what is usually referred to as manas. And buddhi is something that is very determined. Subtle difference between the two. Can we transcend that? And ultimately even let go of this subtle form of I that I have. Let go of this identity with the Jivatma. When you let go of all of this, when you scrape everything, when you remove, what remains? You cannot describe that. Avarnaniya. You can only experience it. Ananda, Brahmananda. When you transcend all of this, when you burn all of this down, Shiva takes you and smears you and accepts you and makes you one with him. That is your true form. You become one with Shiva. There is no distinction between you and him. Just in the Tripuras, there is such a deep meaning that has been embedded. Where again and again in Indian philosophy, we are reminded that everything that you identify with yourself, that is not so, that is not so. Don't get attached to it. Don't get attached to it. They don't condemn it. They don't say, don't make properties, don't think, don't come up with ideas, innovation. No, all of that is always appreciated. But don't get stuck on all of those things. Transcend it. Go beyond, go beyond, go beyond. Because all of those are just milestones. They are just pit stops. That is not your destination. Your destination is something. Para. beyond all of these things, to realize our oneness with Shiva. Just Tripura Hara, like we have just come to like the first three words of the third shloka, and we've already, like, I'm seeing it's already past 10. We'll continue from here in our next session, looking at Adyam, Trinayanam, Jatabharodharam, and all of these other words. We'll continue to dive into it. But at this point in time, I think
Actually, I think is it till 10:30, right, Vijay garu?
is it 10:30?
Yes.
Because I
Yeah.
thought like till 10, and then another 15-20 minutes for any questions.
Questions. Yeah.
That's what we thought, Sugar. I mean, like
Sure,
we
that's fine.
1 hour and then 15 minutes question answer. But again, in case we want to, in
Oh,
future,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
we want to extend, we thought maybe we
No,
can
this is
extend.
good.
But, yeah.
This is good.
So any questions from anyone at this point in time? Any thoughts also, please totally feel free. There might be different ways in which you would have heard all of it. Happy to listen in.
Well, listening to the explanation, the depth of the explanation, it just gives goosebumps completely. And how deep the meaning is, and how it was, the whole shlokas were structured and everything, with the meaning, two multiple different types of meanings that we always look at, right? So
Yes.
it's very good. Really liked it.
Thanks. Virji, yes.
Just thoughts, no questions actually, but in that Puranic story of Tripurasura Samhara, right?
Yeah.
So it's just an expansion to what you said. So the vara that the Tripuras got from Brahma, Chaturmukha Brahma,
Yeah.
It also includes things like they ask him that they should be destroyed. I mean, when Brahma tells them that, hey, there needs to be an end. You cannot be like living
Correct,
forever.
correct. Yes.
So the end should come in some form or other. So then they think that they are very clever. So they end up asking asking for that boon that nobody can fulfill, kind of thing. They try to oversmart their father.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
So in that process, they say that they want to be destroyed by someone who is not someone, who comes on a ratha that is not a ratha, who shoots from a bow that is not a bow, with an arrow that is not an arrow, and of course the timing part of it as well. On a particular nakshatra, on a particular day, I forgot that specific thing. At particular nakshatra where they are to be shot, right? Where all the three will align together.
Yes.
So the problem is that when they have to decide on who that is, right?
Yeah.
That's where every other god in the universe is actually born from somewhere. They have come out of somewhere.
Yeah.
So everything else is a jiva, everything else is a person.
Correct.
The only one they could go back when they trace back all the way, who is not really a person, who has taken a form from formlessness, is Shiva. So Shiva can be looked at as non-personification as well as a person, right? He's both Nirakara and
that is the very next word. Tripuraharam Adyam. He's the very foremost. Is the first. Yeah.
So that's the reason why they go back to that Adya, that first person, who is not really a person. Not just that, when he actually destroys Tripurasuras, he also comes in the form of Ardhanarishwara, where he is neither a male nor a female.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. So he's neither a male nor a female in that form. So in one of the years he has Tatankas, and the other year he has Makara Kundala, right?
Yeah.
He comes in that form where he is not seen as a person with a particular gender also. And as you said, the whole Srishti comes together. The other lesson to learn from this is when things are going against the nature, the entire Srishti comes together to destroy whatever is causing harm to Srishti.
Correct.
It's not just applicable to this story, but even today, on when
True.
something is troubling the world, if humans are troubling the world, then nature takes care of it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's another lesson to be learned.
True.
And the three things that you talked about, right? The Sukshma, the Stula, Sukshma, and Karana Shariras.
Yes.
It actually, based on what I read, it applies to any kind of Triputi.
Oh, correct. Absolutely. That's true.
So it is either three shariras or three karanas.
Three avasthas also, Jagrat, Swapna, and Sushupti, right? So I've been just given like so many dimensions. I just kept it to like one. Next time I was going to talk about the Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, the three avasthas and everything.
I know we are constrained with the time, so you have to only cover one part of it. But yeah, and it also applies to three Triputi in the term, in the sense of the knower, knowledge, and the knowing. All three will disappear, so everything will become one.
Correct.
So when Shiva gives the blessing in the form of this arrow that he shoots, the Pashupatastra, which is Vishnu himself becomes the astra, right? When he shoots that, the whole three will get destroyed and you become one with Shiva. So Triputi could be all kinds. So just wanted to add that.
Because it all comes down to the Kundalini yoga and everything, right? So how the Kundalini rises all the way through Brahma Granthi, Vishnu Granthi, Rudra Granthi, and then hits the Sahasrara. Like, so there are so many dimensions to this.
Absolutely. That's another interesting aspect, right? Because it talks about that Ratha itself, when we think about it, it is Prithivi Rathamuga, I mean, I'm saying in Telugu, Prithivi Rathamuga, Ravichandruli Chakraluga, Meru Parvatame Villuga, Srihari Astramukaga, Pralayakala, Parjanya Garjanalu Meghamula, Garjanalu, Shankamuga Mari, then that all the entire things will come up, right? Those can actually be equated to body.
True.
As an example, Mooladhara Chakra is Prithivistana.
Correct. Exactly.
That is the Ratha. That is the Ratha, right? Merudanda, that Villu, that the bow is actually the backbone.
That's true.
So everything will come together even within your body.
Yes.
So if you think of nature, that is a different dimension. But even within the body, as you said, how the body will actually cooperate with the yogi to realize is another aspect.
Wow.
To realize your reality, right? That's
exactly.
The other aspect. Sorry, I'll stop.
Very good. Harish garu, you have some question. Harish Bhimavarapu, you raised a hand.
Question I just wanted to say this is amazing. The beautiful rendition of Praveen garu, and explaining the Puranas with respect to the actual yogic and physical aspects of our life. And finally, just the satsang, right? So the conversation between Veer and Praveen, that makes us all of us as let's be part of this part of the conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks to the opportunity.
Vidya garu, you have also raised hand.
Yes. Very beautiful session, very detailed session, Praveen garu. Thank you. And Veer garu, your explanation also with reference to the Telugu Bhashyam, very well said, sir. So wait, which Bhashyam are you referring to? Just curious.
I do have a explanation for Sivanandalahari. I mean, whatever I spoke about recently about the Tripurasara Samharam, that is coming from various places, right? So I don't have one particular source because I read so many different places. I cannot point and say this is what I'm referring to. But the previous thing that I said, that Hadyam thing, it actually comes from a couple of versions that I read. And the meaning comes from there is one book I have. I think that is written by a person named Sita Ramanjaneyulu or somebody. I can look at it and tell you. It is in Telugu. Telugulo undandi అది.
Yeah.
Sivananda
Yeah,
Lahari.
sure. Yeah, if you can share that, because the version that we have at home is by Sundar Chaitanya, and curious to see the other version that you are referring also, and also the padyam that you just recited. If you can either post it in this group or
ఏ పద్యం అండి?
లాస్ట్ ఒక పద్యం చెప్పారు చూడండి, ఆయన ఎలా వస్తారు అన్నది.
పృథ్వీ రథముగా రవిచంద్రుల చక్రాలుగాన. అది మీకు మీరు వినాయక విజయం సినిమా చూస్తే గనక దాంట్లో మీకు మొదటిలోనే ఒక పాట ఉంటుంది.
కరెక్ట్.
నమో నమో తాండవ కేళీలోల నమో నమో ఆశ్రిత జనపాల అని. అందులో ఈ వర్ణన వస్తుంది అనమాట. ఒకటేమో హాలాహల భక్షణంది మొదటి స్టాంజా ఉంటుంది. రెండవది ఇట్ విల్ బి అబౌట్ త్రిపురాసుర సంహారం.
ఓకే. సో ఈజ్ ఇట్ స్పెసిఫిక్ గా ఆ మూవీలో ఉందా? బట్ ఇది ఎక్కడి నుంచి డ్రా చేశారు? మీన్ ఎక్కడి నుంచి తీసుకున్నారంటారా ఆ స్టాంజెస్?
ఐ డోంట్ నో ఎగ్జాక్ట్లీ అండి. కానీ శివపురాణంలో అయితే డీటెయిల్ డిస్క్రిప్షన్ ఉంటుంది. అంటే ఆ మూవీ ఆ స్టాంజాలో ఉన్నదే కాకుండా ఇంకా చాలా వర్ణన ఉంటుంది. అంటే ఇప్పుడు సూర్య చంద్రులు చక్రాలు అని ఉంటుంది కదా, దట్ దే ఆర్ ద వీల్స్. సారీ, ఐ యామ్ స్విచింగ్ బ్యాక్ టు ఇంగ్లీష్ బికాస్ Praveen is I'm not sure.
I can understand Telugu.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't speak very fluently, but
I have others also on the call who probably English is better.
Let me explain in English.
Yeah.
So the two wheels, right? The spokes of the wheels are also explained in Shiva Purana. For example, in case of the Surya wheel or Chandra wheel, there are 16 kala. Chandruni kala, there are 16 kalas of Chandra, right? Those become the spokes of the Chandra chakra, and Dwadash Adityas will become the Surya chakra. So everything is explained in detail in terms of what becomes what, even including the bells of that chariot are explained.
Sometimes they also refer to the Rashis. Like if you look at the Konark temple, the wheel that exists,
right,
the cycle of time, right? So they talk about all the Rashis and all of that. So sometimes in Chandra wheel it is the kalas, in Surya it is going to be like, you know, the all the different Rashis. So there are so many ways in which the description
it goes back to the Srishti coming together, like what Veer was saying.
Yes.
Very nice explanation. Shantigar, you had a question.
క్వశ్చన్ కాదు, సీతా కళ్యాణం మూవీలో కూడా త్రిపురాసుర సంహారాన్ని ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తూ ఒక పాట ఉంటుంది. అందులో కూడా మేరు పర్వతం వింటి నారిగా నారాయణుడే వింటి శరముగా అంటూ ఆ త్రిపురాసుర సంహారంకి రిలేటెడ్ విల్లుని వర్ణన చేస్తారు. అది సిద్ధి గారు అడిగినప్పుడు అది కూడా బాగుంటుంది, వింటారు అందరూ అని చెప్తారు. బాపుది ఉండాలి, బాపు సినిమా ఉండింది సీతా కళ్యాణం.
But
in
Valmiki
Ramayana, that is in Valmiki Ramayana, Valmiki says that this is this is the bow that Shiva used to.
అదే స్వామి ధనుర్భంగం చేస్తారు. రామచంద్రమూర్తి ధనుర్భంగం చేసేది ఆ విల్లునే అన్నమాట. అది ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తూ బాలకాండని, అది సీతా కళ్యాణంతో ముగుస్తుంది ఆ మూవీ. అందులో బాలకాండలో చాలా వర్ణనలు చేశారు. అందులో బాగుంటుంది, అంటే పొయిటిక్ గా ఉంటుంది. అమరుని శివులకు విల్లు, అసురుల ఆయువు చెల్లు, అలా బాగుంటుంది అన్నమాట రిథమ్ గా. అది కూడా వినండి ఎప్పుడైనా ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఉంటే చెప్దాం.
Yeah, definitely. I'll listen
most
to that.
Of the mana Puranic movies lo, most of those songs actually are slokas are taken from, you know, some other
either some literary work, some play somewhere they would have written a padya and gamaka from somewhere. It all gets incorporated. That was one generation where they really did all of those things. Nowadays it's a totally different ball game.
Very nice. Any other questions? Anything else? Comments? Yeah, I think like everyone is saying that it is having that extra dialogue is pretty, you know, interesting. Of course, the way you are explaining each word That is also kind of very, very touching, actually. So thank you
It's
so
one
much.
of the pleasures of having Veer in the session. It doesn't become like, one-way thing.
Yeah, when Shanti Garu and Vijay Garu was asking, I was suggesting either one of you both, saying that, can come and talk and stuff like this. So
Absolutely.
we are very fortunate, both of you, actually. Please.
It's my pleasure.
Vijay Garu, you want to close this?
Yes, and I think we can close the session. But one last question, sir. So this is also in Shikharini, right?
Yes, yeah, I'll tell you so initial, I think 2022 or so is in Shikharani Chandas itself. Later on, it will change. At that point, I'll say, now our new Chandas will start, and I'll explain that Chandas also. Till I think quite a few, it's all going to be Shikharani itself. It starts off with Shikharani.
Okay. Yeah. థ్యాంక్స్ లాట్
అంటే
ప్రవీణ్.
సౌందర్య లహరి మొత్తం శిఖరిణిలోనే ఉంది కదా,
So,
శివానందలహరి చేంజ్ అవుతుందా?
in Sivanandalahari, you find multiple chandas. There is Shikharini, there is Shardula Vikridita, there is Sraddhara, there is one more. Oh, I love that name of that chandas. It's not coming to my mind. I remembered, but yeah. So there are multiple chandas that comes, and so many alankaras. So it is steeped in multiple alankaras, shlesha alankaras, and upama alankara. So it's like every other stanza you will find, every other sentence you will find them all. Saundarya Lahari, I think even in Saundarya Lahari you will find different chandas.
అంటే నేను విన్న దానిలో చాలా శ్లోకాలు అయితే శిఖరిణి ఛందస్సులోనే ఎక్స్ప్లెనేషన్ ఇచ్చినవి. మేబీ చేంజ్ ఉన్నదేమో నాకు తెలియదు. శిఖరిణి ఛందస్సే మేజర్ గా విన్నాను. ప్రవచనం
also is in Shikharini. Yes.
Okay. Is there a reference, some again, just like if there's a reference of book or something that you can post, share with us, so that people who are interested in this more?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Like, so you will find Kavi, like in Sanskrit, if you have the Prathama, Dvitiya, Tritiya parikshas and everything, they contain a lot of this chandas. I have used Shabdamani Darpana and all of this.
No, I'm talking specifically about Sivanandalahari. And then is there some write-up somewhere to talk about this chandas and alankara that has been used in this?
Exquisitely in this, there is a very old book which is in Kannada. Okay. Which talks about, so this is a very early attempt that was made to take the Sivanandalahari and write a Kannada version of it using the chandas that was kind of like, parallel to what was in Sanskrit. Like if we talk about like Shardula Vikridita, there is Matebha Vikridita, and all these kind of like different parallel chandas that emerges in the local dialects, right? So there was one work where they have actually taken this and then added it into a Kannada chandas and wrote the same process in Kannada also, but in a different format, right? So I have used those references. It is in Kannada, but I'm happy to share that work also.
I'm trying to look for more that others can understand. So yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Good. So Veer also had any last minute thoughts, Veer?
Yeah, about the chandas, right? While I don't understand the chandas enough, I'm not that knowledgeable, but for the list of kinds of changes that are used in this in Sivanandalahari, there is Arya Gitihi, Dhriti Vilambitam, Pushpitagra,
yes.
So maybe that's the one you are referring to. Then Malini, Vasanta Tilaka, Vasanta Malika, Vanshastam, Shardula Vikriditam, Shalini, Shikharini, and Sraddhara. Wow. These are the chandas that are used. I can probably actually send
yes,
this the photographs of this. These are in Telugu though, but I can.
Yeah, no worries, absolutely. I'll cover which from which verse to which verse, when it changes, I'll always talk about like, okay, now we are going to change the chandas and it is in this chandas and what is the lakshana and everything. We'll cover that. Yeah.
Maybe just a suggestion, maybe we can also include that when we upload on YouTube, in the comment section, if you can just, or even if you tell, I can take the responsibility of putting it on.
Yeah. I think in the
comment.
last session, I explained what Shikari
Right.
and this is like, that Rasa Rudraish Chinna, Yamana Sabha Lagam.
Yamanasala.
Yeah, exactly. So Raso Rudraish Chinnaha. Rasa is 6. There are Shad Rasas, right? And Rudraha, that is like 11 Rudras. So 6 plus 11 is 17. So each line of the verse will have 17 aksharas in it. And within that, so that's how you split, like, 6. And then, for example, let's look at this. Trayi Vedyam, right? Trayi Vedyam Hridyam. 6. Trayi Vedyam Hridyam. Now, Tripura Haram Adyam Trinayanam. Tripura Haram Adyam Trinayanam. 11. Right? So, that in that first line, Trayi Vedyam Hridyam, one group. Tripura Haramadhyam Trinayanam, one group. So you have 6 plus 11, 17. So like that, you split. So there is going to be groups. And then within that, you will find all different ganas. So there is Yagana, Magana, there is Bhagana, I think. And then at the end of each one, you will find one Laghu and one Guru. So one Laghu is Ya Trinayanam. If you look at that, Ya Nam. Ya is Laghu, Nam with Anuswara, because there is Anuswara, it becomes Guru. So that is how the whole grammatical meter for all of this is structured. The first session, I have explained how that whole thing comes up.
Amazing. Amazing. Yep. Very good. Well, Vijay Garu, can you close the session now?
Yes, yeah, sure. Sure, Nick. Thanks a lot, Praveen Garu. And next week also, we will continue on the same 9 o'clock. And if you can share the presentation, is it okay? I mean, is it okay?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Of course, yes. I'm more than happy to. Yes.
Last week's and this week's, if you can share, I'll put it in the group as well.
Sounds good. Yep.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Praveen Garu. Thank you.